I never imagined I'd be the kind of woman who checks her husband's phone. For 17 years, I'd been Emma Fletcher, devoted wife, second-grade teacher at Oak Ridge Elementary, and the woman who trusted Michael completely. That changed the moment I heard someone call me Rebecca. It was at Michael's company gala, an event I'd attended exactly 3 times in our marriage. He travels so much, I'd explained to friends when they asked why I wasn't more involved in his work life. His consulting takes him all over the country. I'm just happy when he's home. And I was. Our life in the suburbs of Portland was everything I'd ever wanted. Our 2-story craftsman with the garden I tended each spring, weekend brunches at Maple Street Cafe, and the security of knowing exactly who we were together. Rebecca, it's so wonderful to finally meet you in person. The woman's voice was warm, her smile genuine as she approached me near the dessert table. I balanced my plate of untouched chocolate cake, confused but polite. I'm sorry, I think you might have me confused with Michael's wife? You are Michael Fletcher's wife, aren't you? Her eyes crinkled at the corners, crow's feet deepening as she tilted her head. He shows us your photos all the time. The hiking trip to Mount Rainier? Your anniversary in Napa? My fingers went numb. I'd never been to Mount Rainier. Our 15th anniversary trip had been to Vancouver, not Napa. I felt my wedding ring pressing against my skin, suddenly foreign and heavy. Yes, I'm Michael's wife, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. But my name is Emma. The confusion on her face mirrored the sensation spreading through my chest, a cold, creeping realization that threatened to crack the foundations of everything I believed about my life. That's strange, she said, lowering her voice. He's always called you Rebecca, for years. I watched my husband across the room, laughing with a group of colleagues, his hand comfortably resting on the shoulder of someone I didn't know. 17 years of marriage crystallized into a single, terrible question. Who is Rebecca? The bathroom stall felt like the only safe place as my hands trembled, scrolling through Michael's emails. The password had always been the same. Our anniversary, plus the name of his childhood dog. Like he wanted to be caught. Maybe he did. 3 emails into his sent folder, I found her. Rebecca. Dark hair like mine, but younger. 35, maybe. Pictures of them together in places Michael told me were business trips. The same warm smile he gave me, directed at someone else. I clutched my charm bracelet, tiny silver symbols of our life together that he'd given me on our 10th anniversary. Each charm told a story. Our first date, a tiny coffee cup. Our honeymoon, a miniature Eiffel Tower. Our shared dreams, a small house with a pitched roof. I wondered now what stories he told Rebecca, what symbols marked their relationship, what parts of himself he had divided between us. My entire body burned with a single, overwhelming need to know exactly how much of my life had been a lie. I didn't confront Michael that night. I rode home beside him in silence, his questions about why I seemed off, bouncing against the car windows unanswered. I needed time, evidence, a plan. The next morning, I called in sick to school for the first time in 3 years. Emma, are you okay? Diane's voice carried genuine concern. As Oak Ridge's school counselor and my closest friend for over a decade, she could always tell when something was wrong. You never miss work. Food poisoning, I lied, my throat tight. Just need a day. Bull, she said flatly. I'm coming over during lunch, and I'm bringing those disgusting kombucha drinks you pretend to like. I spent the hours until Diane arrived in a forensic frenzy. Bank statements, tax returns, credit card bills. I pulled everything from Michael's meticulously organized office. The more I searched, the more confused I became. There were no suspicious withdrawals, no hidden accounts, no paper trail of a second life. Just our joint checking, his retirement fund, and the teacher's pension I'd been building for 15 years. It wasn't until I started searching for our insurance policies that I found the small jewelry box tucked behind a row of financial binders. Inside was an exact replica of my charm bracelet, but newer, shinier. I ran my finger over the identical charms. Coffee cup, Eiffel Tower, house. Then I noticed the difference. On the underside of the house, charm on my bracelet was engraved. To Emma, my foundation. On this new one, to Rebecca, my sanctuary. My knees gave out. I sank to the floor of the office, holding both bracelets, physical proof that my husband had crafted parallel lives with meticulous attention to detail. He'd given us the same symbols, the same stories, probably the same rehearsed laugh when presenting them. Different words, though, different promises. I was his foundation, reliable, immovable, taken for granted. She was his sanctuary, his escape, his secret comfort. Diane found me still sitting there an hour later, surrounded by papers and crying so hard I couldn't speak. She didn't ask questions at first, just sat beside me on the floor and held my hand. When I finally showed her the bracelets, her face hardened in a way I'd never seen before. "That calculating son of a bitch," she whispered. "Emma, look at me. Whatever this is, and it's clearly monumentally bad, you are not alone in figuring it out, not for 1 second." I nodded, grateful but numb. I don't even know who she is. This Rebecca. She's real to so many people in his life. They've seen pictures, heard stories. "We need to find her," Diane said simply. "Not for him, for you, for answers." I felt the first spark of something beyond shock and grief, a tiny flame of anger, of determination. His laptop, he never travels without it, but he's at meetings all day. The password is— "Let me guess," Diane interrupted, helping me up from the floor. "Your anniversary and his childhood dog's name?" I stared at her, surprised. "Men like Michael aren't nearly as clever as they think they are," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "They follow patterns, and patterns can be broken once you see them." Michael's laptop revealed everything and nothing at once. A separate email account, a different phone number, a rental property in North Portland I'd never heard of, paid through a business account I didn't know existed, and photographs, hundreds of them, of Michael, with a woman who looked enough like me to be my slightly younger sister. "Rebecca Wilson," Diane read from the screen, scrolling through what appeared to be a rental agreement. 36, works at Portland General Hospital as a radiologist. A doctor. Of course she was. I thought of my classroom of second graders, the alphabet border I'd hand-laminated, my sensible teacher's salary. Had I not been enough? Too predictable? Too school teacher? "According to these emails, they've been together for 8 years, Diane continued, her voice careful, measured. 8 years, I repeated numbly. We celebrated our 15th anniversary 9 years ago. He gave me that bracelet 7 years ago. My voice broke. He wasn't even trying to keep them separate. Same symbols, same stories. Diane closed the laptop with a decisive click. "Did you ever wonder why he insisted you not come to most work functions? Why you've only met a handful of his colleagues in 17 years? I had wondered. Had accepted his explanations about keeping work and home separate, about long hours making social events impractical. Had believed him when he said he missed me on business trips, had trusted completely. "Call her," Diane said suddenly. "What?" "Rebecca, call her, right now, before you confront him." She slid the laptop toward me. "Her number is right there in his contacts." My hand hovered over the keyboard. What would I even say? "Hi, I'm your boyfriend's wife?" "You say whatever you need to say to get answers," Diane replied, squeezing my shoulder. "Emma, I've known you for 12 years. I've watched you smooth over every conflict, accommodate every difficult parent conference, swallow your own needs for the sake of peace. Not this time." I stared at the phone number on the screen, my head pounding. What if she doesn't believe me? What if she already knows? What if she laughs? Diane didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out her phone and took photos of the documents we'd found, the bracelet, the emails, evidence, protection. Then she handed me my phone. My fingers shook as I dialed the number. 3 rings. 4. Then a woman's voice, professional and slightly distracted. "Hello? Is this Rebecca Wilson?" My voice sounded foreign to my own ears. "Yes, who's calling?" I took a deep breath. "My name is Emma Fletcher. I'm Michael Fletcher's wife." Silence. Then, so quiet I almost missed it. "That's not possible." "I've been married to him for 17 years, I said, my voice stronger now, anger finally pushing through shock. "I have his billing statements, our joint accounts, Another woman at his company called me by your name, and I'm looking at a charm bracelet identical to mine, but with your name on it. Another silence, longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice had changed completely, tight, controlled, like someone working very hard not to scream. I've been with Michael for 8 years. He told me his ex-wife was named Emma, that you divorced 9 years ago because you didn't want children. He said you taught elementary school and that the separation was amicable. The room tilted violently around me. I'm not his ex-wife. There was no divorce, and he told me he didn't want children. Rebecca's breathing became audible, ragged. We've been trying for a baby for 2 years. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our homes, my suburban craftsman and her modern apartment in North Portland. I recognized her immediately, my stomach twisting at how similar we looked from a distance. Dark hair, average height, glasses. Close enough that colleagues who'd seen photos might not question which wife was which. Rebecca sat rigidly across from me, her medical ID badge still clipped to her coat. She'd come straight from work. We both clutched identical folders of evidence, printouts, photos, financial records, like shields between us. I accessed his accounts, she said without preamble. He has a third phone, a third email, and another apartment in Seattle. My coffee remained untouched. A third woman, probably, Rebecca finished, her voice clinical, detached, doctor voice. Based on the pattern and the timeline, he travels to Seattle every month. I'd been married to Michael for 17 years. Rebecca for 8, though I now understood their marriage had been just as false as the stories he told me about his business trips. And potentially, somewhere in Seattle, another relationship of unknown duration. My colleague is a family law attorney, Rebecca said, sliding a business card across the table. She's expecting your call. You have the legal marriage, which gives you certain rights, but both of us have claims on different assets. The systematic way she approached this made me realize how differently we were processing the same betrayal. Her, cataloging evidence, consulting attorneys, strategizing. Me, still trying to breathe through the shock. I can't go back to that house, I whispered, shame burning through me at how weak I sounded. Everything there feels contaminated. Rebecca's clinical detachment cracked slightly. The apartment he rented for us? I can't sleep there either. I keep thinking about all the times he said he needed to work late when he was actually going home to you. For the first time, I truly looked at her. Not as the other woman, not as my younger replacement, but as someone who had been victimized by the same man in the same calculated way. Her eyes were red-rimmed beneath her composure. She'd been crying too. I cleared out my bank account this morning, I said. Not our joint account, my personal one, from before we were married. I've booked a hotel for now. Smart, she nodded. I froze our credit cards and transferred my savings. He called 7 times already. She hesitated. Has he realized you know? Not yet. He's in Seattle until tomorrow. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. We need to decide if we're confronting him separately or... Rebecca trailed off. Together, I finished. The word hung between us, a strange new alliance forming over cappuccinos and betrayal. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. Talk to my cousin who works at First National. Michael tried to withdraw $50,000 this morning. They flagged it for potential fraud because it was unusual activity. I showed Rebecca the message, my hands shaking. He knows, she said flatly. How could he possibly? The bank notification would have gone to his phone. Both of our names are on the freeze orders. She ran a hand through her hair, suddenly looking exhausted. He's going to come back early from Seattle. Today, probably. I felt dizzy with fear and a strange, unexpected relief. The waiting, the pretending was over. I can't face him alone, I admitted. Rebecca's expression hardened. You won't have to. Neither of us will. She pulled out her phone and dialed. Lisa? It's Rebecca Wilson. I need that emergency restraining order we discussed. Yes, for both addresses. And I'm bringing Emma Fletcher with me to your office. We're filing together. 90 minutes later, I stood in an attorney's office watching my hands sign papers that legally barred my husband from approaching me, my workplace, or my home. Our home. The same home where I'd planted window boxes of geraniums every spring for 14 years, believing I was creating a refuge for our love. The first text came at 2 in the morning. I was lying awake in my hotel room, staring at water stains on the ceiling that looked like continents on a map. Emma, please. Whatever you think you know, it's not what it seems. I can explain everything. Just talk to me. I didn't respond. 3 minutes later. I'm outside your classroom. Where are you? Are you safe? My heart raced. How did he know I wasn't at school? Had he been watching me? The principal says you called in sick. I'm worried. I blocked his number, hands shaking. Then came the emails. The voicemails on my school extension. Flowers delivered to Oak Ridge Elementary, with a card bearing a single question mark. He's escalating, Rebecca said when I called her the next morning. She sounded exhausted. He showed up at the hospital last night. Security removed him. Did he hurt you? My voice barely worked. No, but he kept saying there was a misunderstanding, that we needed to talk privately. She paused. Emma, I hired a private investigator to look into Seattle. It took less than a day to find her. Her? The word stuck in my throat. Melissa Donahue, administrative assistant at his Seattle client's office. He's been seeing her for 3 years. She's 29, divorced, has a 6-year-old son. The pattern emerged with sickening clarity, the age gap widening with each new relationship, the increasing youth of each woman, the carefully maintained lies. She doesn't know about either of us, Rebecca continued. The PI made contact posing as a delivery person. Michael has pictures of his son on his desk there. He doesn't have a son. But even as I said it, a terrible thought formed. Her son. She thinks Michael is the boy's father. Rebecca's voice cracked for the first time since I'd met her. Emma, I need to tell you something. I'm pregnant. 6 weeks. I took the test the day before you called me. The room spun around me. Rebecca, carrying Michael's child. The child he told me he never wanted. The future I'd reluctantly accepted, childlessness, suddenly revealed as yet another lie. Have you told him? I whispered. No. And now I don't know if I... She couldn't finish the sentence. I thought about Rebecca's medical career, about the child in Seattle who believed Michael was his father, about the 17 years I'd invested in a marriage built on fiction. He's been spotted back in Portland, Rebecca said after a long silence. The PI followed him from the airport. He's staying at the Hawthorne Hotel downtown, not at either of our places. What does he want? What's his endgame here? I asked, more to myself than to her. That's what scares me most. I don't think he knows. I think he just kept going, adding more lies to cover old ones until he'd created these parallel lives he couldn't maintain. My phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. I almost declined it until I saw the Seattle area code. I should take this, I told Rebecca. It might be about the third woman. It wasn't. It was Michael, his voice tightly controlled. Emma, please don't hang up. I need 5 minutes with both of you, together. Then I'll sign whatever you want. Divorce papers, financial settlements, anything. I glanced at the restraining order on the hotel desk. That's not possible. 5 minutes in a public place. That's all I'm asking. Then you'll never have to see me again. We met him at a busy coffee shop downtown, the same one where Rebecca and I first compared our shattered lives. Diane sat 2 tables away as our witness, her presence non-negotiable. Rebecca and I arrived together, a united front in our broken-heartedness. Michael looked terrible, unshaven, shirt wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. Good. Let him suffer. Thank you for... he began. 4 minutes left, I interrupted, glancing at my phone's timer. He nodded, swallowing hard. I need you both to know I never meant to hurt anyone. It just happened. And then I couldn't find a way out that wouldn't destroy everything. So you decided to destroy us instead, Rebecca said, her hand unconsciously moving to her stomach. I wondered if she'd tell him about the pregnancy. I hoped not. I loved you both, he whispered. Differently, but genuinely. The rage that swept through me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. You loved having us. There's a difference, Michael. What about Melissa? Rebecca asked coldly. And her son? Do you love them too? Michael's face drained of color. How did you... Your time's running out, I said. Why did you want this meeting? He reached slowly into his jacket and pulled out 3 envelopes. Financial statements. All of them. Every account, every investment. I've authorized full access for both of you. I didn't touch the envelope he slid toward me. Why? Because I'm leaving. Today. I've accepted a position in Singapore, 3-year contract. I won't contest the divorce or any financial claims. Everything I have is in those envelopes. Split it however you want. You're running away. Rebecca's voice was ice. I'm giving you both space to rebuild without me complicating things. He stood up, not waiting for the timer to finish. I've already signed preliminary divorce papers. Your lawyer has them, Emma. Rebecca, there's a settlement offer for you as well. As he walked away, shoulders hunched, I felt nothing but hollow victory. He would escape to Singapore, start over, probably find new women to manipulate. We would be left picking up the pieces. I'm keeping the baby, Rebecca said suddenly, once he was gone. Not for him, for me. I nodded, a complicated twist of emotions running through me. And I don't want his money, she continued. None of it. It's tainted. I thought about my classroom, my students, the modest teacher's salary that had never seemed insufficient until I realized how much Michael had been hiding. I might need some of it, I admitted, to start over. Rebecca reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Then take it all. Use it to build something that matters. I flew to Seattle 3 days after Michael left the country. I had to see her, this third woman whose life was about to implode just as mine had. Melissa opened her apartment door with her son balanced on her hip. A beautiful boy with dark curly hair and dimples like Michael's. My heart twisted painfully. Melissa Donahue? I kept my voice gentle. My name is Emma Fletcher. Her expression remained neutral. Michael's not here. He's traveling. I know. He's in Singapore. I hesitated. May I come in? What I have to tell you can't be said in a hallway. 20 minutes and countless tears later, she sat stunned on her sofa, her son mercifully napping in another room. 6 years, she whispered. Aiden thinks. Michael is his father. He signed the birth certificate. Another legal complication I hadn't anticipated. I'm so sorry. I didn't know until last week myself. 17 years, she said, looking at my wedding ring. I still hadn't taken it off. And the other woman, Rebecca? 8 years. She's pregnant. Melissa flinched. Will she keep it? Yes. She looked toward her son's bedroom. I was alone when I had Aiden. Michael only visited on weekends, said his job kept him traveling. I believed him. Her eyes hardened. Does he have any idea you're here? No, he thinks he's escaped the consequences. But we're the consequences, she said softly. Us and our children, the lives he threw away. Those words stayed with me on the flight home, echoing as I finally moved my things out of the house I'd shared with Michael. I rented a small apartment near my school and began therapy. Rebecca and I spoke weekly. Her pregnancy progressed. She bought a townhouse closer to the hospital. Melissa and I exchanged occasional texts, mostly updates about the financial settlements and legal proceedings. 2 months after Michael left, I used my teacher's retirement fund and a portion of his settlement to rent a small office space. With Diane's help, I created a support group for women rebuilding after betrayal. Our first meeting had 3 attendees, me, Rebecca, and a friend of Diane's who'd left an abusive relationship. The second meeting had 7 women, the third, 15. I called it The Foundation, a reclaiming of what Michael had called me in his engraving. The foundation not of his deceptions, but of recovery for those he and men like him had damaged. When Rebecca reached her 3rd trimester, she joined me as a co-facilitator, using her medical background to address the physical impacts of trauma. Melissa occasionally joined by video call, offering insights on parenting through crisis. The foundation grew faster than I ever imagined. 6 months after our first meeting, we had 3 weekly support groups and a waiting list. I took a sabbatical from teaching to focus on what had become my calling. Rebecca's baby came on a stormy Tuesday in April, a girl with her mother's dark eyes and determination. She named her Sophia, meaning wisdom. I was there for the birth, holding Rebecca's hand through each contraction, witnessing the miracle Michael had told me I never wanted. She'll never know him, Rebecca said, as we watched Sophia sleep in the hospital bassinet. Is that wrong of me? No, I answered without hesitation. It's protective. My divorce finalized that same week. I signed the papers in my lawyer's office, alone but not lonely. The weight that lifted from my shoulders nearly took my breath away. I sold the house, unable to separate it from memories of deception. Michael's charm bracelet I melted down, using the silver to create small pendant tokens for Foundation members when they reached milestone healing moments. The most unexpected chapter began when Melissa called me, voice thick with emotion. He tried to contact Aiden, she said. A package arrived with a Singapore postmark. Toys. A letter explaining his new job overseas. Like he's just a distant father, not a fraud. What do you need? I asked. Legal help and... She paused. I'd like to move to Portland. The foundation work you and Rebecca are doing. I want to be part of it. For Aiden's sake and mine. 1 month later, I stood in the airport watching Melissa and Aiden descend the escalator, their lives packed into 4 suitcases. Rebecca waited beside me, Sophia strapped to her chest. Our strange, beautiful family formed in the aftermath of destruction. The media found our story eventually. A local reporter attended a foundation session and asked for an interview. Then came a segment on the evening news, a feature in a women's magazine, a speaking invitation at a national conference on relational trauma. 1 year to the day after I discovered Michael's deception, I received an email from Singapore. I saw the feature about the foundation. I never meant to create something good, but I'm glad something meaningful came from my mistakes. If you need additional funding, I'd like to contribute anonymously. I deleted it without responding. The foundation had secured nonprofit status and a substantial grant. We didn't need his money, or his absolution. Our first national conference sold out in 3 days. 400 women from across the country gathering to share stories of betrayal and recovery. I stood at the podium, looking at faces that mirrored my journey from devastation to determination. A year ago, I thought my identity had been stolen from me, I told them. I was wrong. It was waiting to be discovered. Rebecca sat in the front row, Sophia on her lap. Melissa stood in the wings with Aiden, who had become the unofficial big brother of our unconventional family. Diane, who had expanded her school counseling work to include a partnership with the foundation, beamed proudly from the side of the stage. The news broke 2 weeks later. Michael had been arrested in Singapore for financial fraud. His company was investigating years of embezzlement, money that had funded his multiple lives. The authorities wanted statements from all 3 of us. Will you testify? Rebecca asked as we sat in my office, watching our children play on the floor between us. Sophia, now crawling, reached persistently for Aiden's toy trucks, while he patiently redirected her to softer toys. No, I said. I've given him enough of my life. Melissa nodded in agreement. We've built something he can never touch. That's our testimony. 3 years to the day after the company gala, where a stranger called me Rebecca, I stood in the doorway of our new foundation headquarters. What began in a small rented office had grown into a national organization with 15 employees and programs in 7 cities. My teaching sabbatical had become a resignation, though I still volunteered at Oakridge Elementary once a week. Some habits of the heart never change. Ready for the ribbon cutting? Rebecca asked, adjusting 5-year-old Aiden's tie while balancing 3-year-old Sophia on her hip. Her medical practice now specialized in trauma recovery, a perfect complement to our work. Melissa nodded, camera ready. Her children's book series about unique families had just been optioned for an animated series. They're waiting, she said, gesturing to the crowd outside, supporters, members, media. Diane handed me the oversized scissors with a wink. Not bad for a woman who once checked her husband's phone. We had received Michael's sentencing news last month. 8 years for fraud. His Singapore life had collapsed as completely as his Portland one. I felt nothing when I read the report, neither satisfaction nor sorrow. Just acknowledgement of a closed chapter. The charm bracelet that once symbolized his deception had been transformed. Each woman who completed our program received a small silver pendant, a foundation stone engraved with rebuilt. As I cut the ribbon, flashbulbs popped and applause erupted. I looked at the women flanking me, Not just Rebecca, Melissa, and Diane, but dozens of foundation graduates who had reclaimed their stories. When I discovered my husband's betrayal, I told the crowd, I thought I'd lost my identity. Instead, I found it, along with my purpose and my true family. Sophia squirmed free from Rebecca's arms and ran to me. I lifted her easily, this child who carried Michael's DNA but not his legacy. Aiden grabbed my free hand, protective and proud. We were not the family I had once envisioned. We were something stronger, built not on deception, but on its aftermath, not on romantic illusion, but on the bedrock of women supporting women. We were the foundation.
Mom,